Hello. So we're out on a bimble with an echo of a barking dog. Semi-blue skies. It's about 6 or 7 degrees, I think. Maybe less, but I'm quite warm. But my extremities, or whatever they're called, my fingers, are getting a bit, a bit chilly. So I normally mention Christmas at this time of year because quite a lot of people celebrate Christmas on the 25th of December, which is Bodhi's birthday. It'd be 12, as I said in a recent video. And I mentioned maybe a couple of years ago, I was talking about a particular person who contacted me and said, I'm going to be alone, first time ever. I get this a lot. What do I do? And I said, you do whatever pleases you. You don't have to do what you've always done. You can create something new. You can have a new tradition, whatever that may be. Anyway, that opened up a little avenue of conversation. And it reminds me really of, I worked with a woman a few years ago, and her mum and dad sadly died within 2 years of each other. They were really quite elderly. Unfortunately, what happened was this woman's husband, 4 years prior to her mum and dad going, he went off with one of her neighbours, and she'd been alone for 4 years, which I said to her, maybe that was a blessing in a way, because you get, number one, you get used to being alone a little bit, especially, if you've been married for 18 years and then you suddenly find yourself alone. It can be a bit of a shock to the system, but she had 4 years, so that was something, And also, who wants to be in a loveless marriage? It's better to find out whenever you find out. It's not going to work. Come on, my friend. Hello. So, she had 4 years on her own, but a couple of those really was caring for her parents. And then all of a sudden her parents weren't here, and she found herself alone. And she said, I'm lost, I don't know what to do. And I said, there's so much you can do if you want to. So, do you still want to carry on with Christmas? Do you want to celebrate Christmas? She had no kids or anything, and she said, yeah, I like Christmas. And I said, that's great, So there's loads of clubs you can join, you can volunteer at any of the homeless centres, and they've got like meals arranged these days in kind of village hall type scenarios really, and that's for people that are just going to be on their own. Sometimes they're elderly, sometimes they're ill, sometimes they're, I don't know, whatever. Sometimes people just find themselves alone for whatever reasons. It could be estrangement, it could be divorce or death or whatever, and you're just alone. So you could go there and either have a meal, enjoy your time, or volunteer. And if you volunteer, then you still get a meal. So maybe that's what you could do. And she said, oh, I'm not really into strangers. And I said, that's fine, Maybe ask one of your neighbours, one of your work colleagues. Do you have any family? Do you have any old friends? Do you have anybody elderly in your family? Do you have anybody that you know is likely to be on their own? And I went through various scenarios, and she just said, well, it won't be the same, will it? And that was the crux of it. So I said, it doesn't really matter whether you're on your own or whether you've got you know, 2 neighbours, 10 work colleagues, whatever. It's just not as it once was. So in other words, it's not with mum and dad, it's not doing all the usual, and it's not the same. It will be different. So I said is to create a new Christmas, a new tradition, whatever. And I said, it's now your time to create your Christmas. So what does your Christmas look like? And she said, if I could choose. I said, you can. She said, if I could choose, she said, I've always, wherever I've been, mostly at mum and dad's, but wherever else she's been, everybody has Christmas dinner at about 12, 1 o'clock. She said, I'm not ready. She said, I would rather get up later and cook later and have dinner at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. I said, do that. And that becomes your new tradition. So Christmas Day, leave your phone downstairs, no alarm, wake up whenever, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, turn over, go back to sleep for an hour, up to you. Long, slow shower, and then downstairs for a nice hot Slurpee, or 2, or 5, and arrange for your friend to come round at 4 o'clock, something like that. And you start cooking at 3. If you don't fancy doing a silly Christmas dinner, do a roast dinner. You don't have to have crackers and party hats and balloons, and you can do if you want, if that's your thing, do that, you know, and make it your own tradition. Anyway, I said that to her, and I said, that way, if you follow your set of guidelines, doesn't matter, some years you'll be on your own, some years you might have a friend or a neighbour or whatever, you know. And I saw her 2 years later, and we just got chatting about life in general, and you know, I said, how are things? Because last time we spoke, you lost your mum and dad, you lost your partner, you lost a lot. And she said, yeah, but I gained a lot as well. She said, I don't want to be nasty, but said my parents took a lot of time, a lot. And I get that. As much as she'd rather have them here, it did take a lot of time and trouble and stuff like that. And she said, as for a partner, I couldn't care less. I said, well, that's a change, because you were really quite gutted. And I said, what about the Christmas? I said, do you remember we spoke about that? She said, yeah. She said, no, I think about you often, and I've got a new tradition, and my new tradition, do you remember me saying I want to stay in bed? And I said, yeah. I said, that's exactly what I do. Phone is downstairs, the alarm is off. When she wakes up, she goes and has a wee. It could be 9 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock. Goes and has a wee, goes back to bed for a couple of hours. Oh, lovely, that's her Christmas. And then she goes downstairs, whacks some music on, has a Slurpee, and then, you know, by the time she's showered, dressed, sorted, then if she's got anyone coming round, then they're due. If not, she said she's quite happy either to spend it with people or on her own. It matters not, you know. And I said, well, good for you. She said, but that is my tradition. I now do Christmas my way. And it took her, I think she was 55. So it took her a long time to get Christmas sorted her way. But yeah, the meaning of this video really is do things your way. There's not the right way to do things, and you will often feel put out, lost, lonely, upset, sad, angry, bitter, annoyed. Well, do it your way then. If you want to do a Christmas, if you do, and there's nothing wrong with it, then do it. I choose not to, so we don't do it. My Christmas day is not a Christmas day, it's a Bodhi birthday, and he's number one in my life. But as you know, my Christmas, what it consists of, I get my mum's cards out. I've got 3 cards. I read the cards, read them every year. I say, I love you, Mum, thank you. And I put them out on the coffee table normally. Come here, bird. No, it's okay, stand. Good boy, stand. Just stand. Right. Just stand. I know, I'm not going to hurt you or do anything. What did I see? I don't know. Okay. And they remain there for the day. That's the last time I think about Christmas. First and last, just those few seconds. and I put the cards away at some stage. Could be after dinner, after 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, whatever. It could be in the evening, it could be night time before I go to bed, it could be the following day. It makes no odds. Christmas is over and done with for me in those few seconds, and that's a tradition. That's my tradition now, I suppose, isn't it, really? So do I celebrate Christmas? Yeah, I get my mum's cards out. Well, if that's celebrating Christmas, then so be it. I don't think it is. But of course, to remember, you don't have to celebrate Christmas. And if you do, celebrate it quietly, celebrate it on your own. You know, I've known people that won't go and don't go to weddings and funerals, but they kind of honour those people in their own way. I don't normally go to funerals, but I always honour that person, always. So I don't need to go to a funeral. So if you have Christmas, you don't need to have a tree and balloons and people. You know, do whatever you do. But if you feel that Christmas is going to be a problem to you, then reach out, volunteer if you can. Reach out, ask your friends, your neighbours, work colleagues, whatever. See what's going on in your local area. Is there one of these meals at the village hall or the local pub? I bet there is, if that's what you want. Anyway, whatever you're doing, do it your way. Okay, take care then. Be well. Ta-da. Looks like a white Christmas after all, perhaps.